beautiful friends, and welcome back to my channel. This is Nova Gnome Creations, and I'm Nova, and I am so happy to see you this morning. I hope you are doing well today, and just know that if you are having a hard week, that you have made it halfway through the week. It is Wednesday, and that means that you have taken the climb, you've taken the trek up the hill of the week, and now you are at the peak. You are at the summit, and you just have to coast the rest of the way down into the weekend, and you are halfway there. So you are doing a good job. It will pass before you know it if this is a hard time for you. And if it's a good time for you, I am very, very happy to hear that. And I hope that it continues to be a good and happy and healthy time for you guys. And I just would like to take a second for you guys to take a deep breath. If it is comfortable for you, maybe take a few deep breaths and leave any worries and any anxiety and any stress, anything that is just wearing on you, leave it at the door. Come into the cozy little corner, pull up a seat, grab a drink. Our cozy little corner of YouTube, we can shut the door. You can leave your baggage out there. It does not matter right now. You are allowed to have time where it does not matter. You're allowed to have time where you put it down. You need to have time where you put it down. And if you need someone to tell you that you have permission to let go for a little bit, I'm giving you that permission. Anytime that you're here, anytime you're hanging out with me and in the cozy little corner, you have permission to let go of those anxieties, let go of those stresses, all those things that you feel like you have to worry about, you have to take care of, that you're responsible for. Just brush them off. They will be there when you need to pick them back up again, but you do not need to deal with them right now. So I hope that you can feel a little bit of weight lifted, that you can maybe grab a project. If not, just sit here, close your eyes for a minute, enjoy a moment of peace. And I hope that that helps you. So today is Wip Wednesday. Let me know down in the comments, what are you working on? I am giving you guys a little update on a project and also telling you guys about a new endeavor that you may have heard about over on Llama Mama Kayla's channel. But first, let me show you a little update on my Kaleidoscope shawl. Now, if you guys remember, the last time I showed this, it was just a little tiny triangle. And it is not very far still, and that was because I dropped everything to work on the Cupid gnome, and then I was working on some other things that I wanted to get done more quickly, and so this has kind of fell to the back burner. But this is how it is coming out, and I am here for it. It is so beautiful. I could already wear it as like a little handkerchief. There you go. Isn't that so pretty? I am literally loving it. So we will get some close-ups on the color here. It reminds me of like a peacock. Just these rich colors, all of these rich like jewel tones of like every color you can think of. It's like a rainbow, but done in jewel tones. Is that not the most beautiful thing? When I got to this blue and purple, I literally like had to go show my husband. I was like, look how beautiful this blue is. Don't mind my glowing hand. Is that not gorgeous? So this is called the Kaleidoscope shawl. It is a Yarnspirations pattern, and I will link it in the description. I am following a tutorial here on YouTube by Marley Bird, which I will also link in the description box. Ooh, I'm pulling out my stitch. This pattern is really easy to follow once you like get the idea of the basics down. I find the written pattern to be written in a weird way that's a little bit confusing, but the tutorial where Marley Bird explains it is absolutely phenomenal, super easy to understand. She breaks it down like so beginner friendly. I highly recommend it. This is my first time making a shawl, and I literally have been loving it. So I wrote down some notes based on watching her tutorial, because I'm at a part now where I'm doing just like repeats of like rows 6 through 15. I'm going to repeat those rows 3 times. So I wrote it down. And I love watching tutorials for that reason, because sometimes when patterns are written in a way that isn't like, it doesn't just immediately click for my head. It's really nice to be able to watch a tutorial and write it down in a way that I understand. And so that's what I did. I just have it written down on a note card, but I think that this will be a pattern, because I really do enjoy it so much, that I will probably go through and write in my handwritten pattern like notebook that I just write down, you know, notes and stuff like that. But basically the pattern comes down to 2 different types of techniques that you use, which are box mesh, which is what this is, and shell mesh, which is what this is. And the shell mesh is basically granny stitches, and the box mesh is basically chaining and double crochets. And you just kind of have a way that you repeat that and increase at the ends and at the tip. But so it's not hard. Like I said, once you get like the gist of how to do it, it clicks. Like, you just know how to do it. And then it's just a matter of, you know, repetition in the right way and increasing. So I highly recommend that. Like I said, I'll have that all linked in the description. And I will be working on this more, and am excited to see it come along. And then the yarn that I'm using is a discontinued yarn. And I actually threw away the ball band literally yesterday. It's been sitting on my desk this whole time. But it was Katarina. It's a Hobby Lobby yarn. Katarina Aztec Blanket. That's the colorway. Like I said, it is discontinued. I got it in the Hobby Lobby clearance last year, and I'm just so stoked to be using it. It's beautiful. I have this much left of my ball, and it was more like a skein of yarn before, but as I was working from the outside, it became a ball. So I guess that they wrapped the ball, and I guess this is the reason why you don't want to center pull with these ones. She had said, Marley Bird had said in the tutorial, she's using Lion Brand. Oh, is it Lion Brand? Red Heart. I want to say Unforgettable yarn, and it looked very similar to this, like very like same type of yarn. And she was saying not to do a center pull because this type of cake is not, or this type of skein, or whatever you want to call it, this type of ball is not meant to be center pulled, so it's going to tangle. And that has been my experience with this yarn. So that was, I always just immediately center pull, because I love like the ease of just pulling from the center and not having to roll the whole skein around my house. But yeah, so that was a really good advice to pull from the outside with that. But anyway, what I was saying is, if I run out of this, I do have more. I don't remember if I have more in this specific colorway, but I have some in several different colorways, because this yarn was so beautiful and it was so cheap. I want to say that this yarn was like $2 in the clearance, which was like insane to me. And I just could not, these colors, I literally was like freaking out. I'm still freaking out. I freak out every time I think about the amazing deal that I got on this beautiful yarn. I am a sucker, obviously, for yarn, just like all of us here probably are, but I'm also a big sucker for a deal. Like, clearance is literally like the choir singing to me. I'm like, yes, clearance. It just makes me so happy. And knowing that I got a good deal on something makes me so happy. Like, when my hubby gets me stuff for like presents or surprises, he'll tell me if he gets it on like clearance or on sale or something, because he knows that it actually makes the present even better for me if I know he got it at a good price. Like, that literally will, like, it's like, oh, I love this. Oh my gosh, you got it at a good price. I really love this. So like, yeah, clearance yarn, my jam. But yeah, I got like more than one colorway, but they are all like the similar type of yarn. They're all like jewel tones, really rich colors, and I think they will all go really well together. So I'm not really concerned about if this particular colorway, if I only have one of it and I need to add on to it, I think that I will be able to seamlessly switch to one of the other colorways and it won't be a big deal. So that is my WIP update on the Kaleidoscope shawl. And I am working on, can you guys guess when I finally picked back up? Something you may have completely forgotten about and like, we're like, does this even exist anymore? My cardigan. So I hadn't been working on my cardigan, and the reason I hadn't been working on it was because it is very big and bulky. Like I told you guys, I worked at Double Stranded. It's like a winter coat cardigan. It's definitely meant for warm weather or cool weather, and it just isn't something I can work at my desk. It's just too bulky. So I needed to work at it while like sitting down somewhere else where I could spread it out, like, you know, either in the living room or sitting in the bed or something like that. But I honestly don't sit other places that often, unless I'm like going to bed. So I just hadn't been working on it. And, we have been watching The Flash again. I don't know if you guys watch The Flash, TV show. It's really, really good. You should totally watch it if you're into that kind of stuff. And we've watched it before, but we never finished it. So we are watching it again, and it's so good. And I was like, yes, I can work on my cardigan because we're sitting in the bed watching it. So the last 2 nights we've been sitting in the bed watching it, and I've been working on my cardigan. So I finally got the fur trim done on the hood. Now I just need to attach one more pocket and do the, brim. I need to do the trim of the front. And I'm thinking I might do the trim in the front, and then maybe I might trim the top of the pockets to match the trim in the front. I'm not sure yet. But basically I've just got a little bit more work on the cardigan, and then it's going to be done. I'm so excited, but I will hold off on showing you guys what it's looking like so far and wait and give you an update soon, because I might be able to get it finished soon, and then I can just do a whole video updating you on what I've done and showing you how it comes out. So I am looking forward to getting that done just in time for it to get warm again, I'm sure. But, you know, like I said before, the weather fluctuates so crazy here. It's like some days it's cold, some days it's hot. You never know. But I am excited to wear this in cold weather, especially like when I visit my family in Michigan. It'll be perfect for that. It'll be like if I go in the cool weather, which I love to visit during cool weather because I miss cool weather. So I'll probably always visit during cool seasons. And it'll be a nice warm jacket to wear when I'm outside. So anyways, the other thing that I have to update you guys on is a new ongoing project. And you guys may have seen about this over on Llama Mama Kayla's channel. I will link her in the description box below. If you have not checked her out, I would highly recommend her channel. She is the sweetest, strongest woman ever. And if you like my channel, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to like her channel. And honestly, same goes for everybody that I watch, but she is just a very positive, upbeat person, and I feel like you will enjoy her channel if you don't know it already, which honestly, most of you probably already watch her. Half of you probably came from her channel to my channel. So yeah. Anyway, she mentioned the 100-day challenge recently, and I wrote down little notes so that I don't forget anything. So there is this thing called the 100-day challenge, and it doesn't have to be crochet related. It can be anything. And it is like a movement. This is the 10th anniversary, I think I read when I was looking it up, of them doing this 100-day challenge. So it can be literally anything. It could be let me think of some examples. Okay, so of course it could be crochet related. It could be knitting related. It could be making something. It could be photography related, like taking a photo every day. It can be social media related, posting every day. The challenge kind of features around Instagram, so posting every day kind of goes hand in hand with it, but you obviously don't have to go do posting every day. And basically anything. It could be working out. It could be like adding something into your daily routine. Maybe drinking more water is important to you and you're trying to up your water intake. So you're going to make a goal to drink a bottle of water every single day for 100 days or something. It could be literally whatever works for you, is doable, but like something that you feel like is like a goal that you would like to work on. So if you are interested in participating, you can feel free to, of course, chat about it in the comments, update us on how it's going. If you are on Instagram, I am on Instagram, and you can feel free to tag me in your posts if you'd like me to see them. The Instagram page, that's like the official page for this, is at, like the at symbol, do the 100-day project. That's the name of their channel. And the hashtag for the challenge is hashtag 100-day challenge. So if you would like to participate on Instagram or even here on YouTube, hashtag 100-day challenge, and people will be able to find your videos or your pictures and see what you're working on. Okay, so that's what the 100-day challenge is. And what I decided to do was, I was like instantly thinking granny squares. I was like, that's something digestible enough that I can do it every day, that like I could take like 5 minutes out of my day, view it as like kind of my warm up for crocheting and do a granny square. And I've been wanting to do kind of like a granny square a day kind of thing, but I have a tendency to do like big intricate granny squares that I could not do one a day, or that might be all the crocheting I'm doing at all, which is fine, like if that's what I plan on doing. But I also like to do so many other things like amigurumi and Gnome of the Month, and it's difficult to commit to something that big for me. But like one little small granny square a day I could do. So here was what I was thinking. I was thinking I could do a baby blanket, which I have never made a baby blanket really, like okay, erase that. I've made a baby blanket, but I've never made a granny square blanket. I made a baby blanket out of like blanket yarn, like little plushy blanket yarn. But I've never made a granny square blanket. I have a pile of granny squares that will probably go into multiple blankets, because they don't match, and they're not the same sizes or thicknesses or anything. But I've never done just like a cohesive granny square blanket, and that's something that I've been wanting to do. So I was like, this will be perfect. I will do a granny square a day. And I was like, I'll keep it relatively small, the granny squares, so that they're doable. And then I was like, well, I have a niece and a nephew. So I decided I'm going to do 2 granny squares a day. And I'm going to do a granny square for my niece and a granny square for my nephews. And then I will have 2 blankets at the end of it. And they can each have their own little granny square blanket. So these granny squares are roughly like 3 inches in, would it be diameter? The blue ones are a little bit bigger because they're double-stranded. But I did both of them with 5mm hooks. And I am just going to be using yarns that I think go together. I have a lot of little baby yarns that are kind of this sort of style. And then I am just going to do yarns that I think go together. So like the squares, they'll be all different. I am using currently my blue magic cake that I made, that little pocket gnome and that Buddy Bear 2.0 from. So it is very floppy. Do not judge. It's kind of looking like a blob right now. But I'm using this currently, and I am thinking I will probably use that whole thing to make granny squares. Maybe. We'll see. I do want there to be some variety. But in total, since I'm doing it for 100 days, I will be making 200 granny squares. And that means each blanket will get 100 granny squares. And I kind of roughly figured it out that I'm going to do 10 granny squares by 10 granny squares. And that will make it 100 granny squares. And it should be a pretty good size for a baby blanket. They're not huge granny squares, but I think that should be pretty good size. I did try to like roughly math it out, and oh boy, what was it? Like roughly 30 to 40 inches in either direction. So if I want to, I will obviously, if I get to the end of the 100 days and I need to add a little bit more, I can, of course, continue them and add a little bit more. But this is like my initial goal. And then what I'm thinking is every time that I get 10 granny squares done, I will go ahead and seam them together. And do, like, if I'm going to do a border on the granny squares, I haven't decided how I want to do it exactly yet. I will go ahead and do my borders on them and seam them together every 10, because it'll make it a lot more doable when I get to the end, because then I'll just need to seam together 10 strips and then put a big, border on the whole thing. So part of my, like, little rules that I wrote down for what my goals are, I'm going to make 2 3-round granny squares each day, which is what I just showed you guys. I am going to sew in my tails daily, and I don't mean these little side tails. I meant the magic circle tails, which I did go ahead and sew in the magic circle tails. And I'm doing that to try to make this an easier project for myself so that I don't have a million tails to weave in at the end. And the reason I left these tails for now is because I haven't decided if I'm putting a border on these. If I am putting a border on them, then I'll just work over my tails. But if I'm not putting a border on each granny square, which I probably will, then I will also start sewing these in. But I'm thinking I'll probably do, like, I don't know, maybe white or something, to border each square and then seam them together. And then, like I said, after each 10 squares, I'm going to go ahead and put together a strip of 10 squares. And then at the end, I will just have 10 strips of 10 squares to seam together. And I'll just do that for both blankets. And that'll make it a lot easier to finish them into blankets, because I know that is one of the things I see a lot, is people will be like, oh yeah, I have like enough granny squares to make multiple blankets, but I have to put them all together and weave in all the tails, and they just never get around to it because it's like, ugh. And I could definitely see that being the case, or I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like doing that right now. So I was like, okay, make this a little more doable. If I do a little bit at a time with it and work it all up like over time, I think it will feel way less like annoying. And then I will end by connecting the 10 strips together, and then I will put some sort of a border on it. And then I was also thinking that, like, I'll probably trim, okay, so, like, let's just say I decide to trim the squares in white. This is just me kind of brainstorming. I'm not, like, 100% set on this yet. But, like, if I trim these in white, and then I do the border of the blanket in white, or whatever color, that eventually, if they wanted me to, I could add on to the blankets if they want them made into bigger blankets, especially, if I'm doing like my nephews in like blues and stuff like that, that could definitely be more than just a baby blanket if he would like me to, because I've seen people do this, and I think it's so cute, where they make them a blanket that's on the smaller side because they're little, and then as they get bigger, they let them pick out the yarn, and I think that is such a fun idea. Like, I saw somebody said that every year they have like I think it was their grandson, I think it was in a group I'm in, pick out a color, or they go to the store and they pick out a yarn, maybe 1 or 2 colors or whatever, and they add it into the blanket and make it bigger. And I was like, I absolutely love that idea. It could be a blanket that kind of grows with them, and then also is kind of reflecting their personality. So I make it something kind of, neutral enough, and then they can build on it. And, maybe this time they're into like some funky prints and they want, some crazy yarn, and it'll kind of reflect like their life and their personality, I think that's really fun. But I'm planning on doing my nieces in like pastels, because I have baby yarn that I think would be so cute for doing this baby blanket. So, that'll depend on if she's into pastels, I guess, but it definitely has potential either way. So that is what I'm planning on doing for the 100-day challenge, and I will update you guys as I go. I may just be like, hey, here's my granny square for the day, in my normal daily videos. I might do like a little update here and there, maybe like every 10 days when I seam them together or something. I'm not going to have anything super like set in stone about when I update on this. But I will probably do updates on Instagram for it, since it is like, an Instagram challenge. So I'll probably post, I might post daily updates. I'm not 100% sure, but I will post more frequent updates for sure on Instagram. So if you would like to follow me on Instagram, I have all of that stuff linked in the description box below, all of like my social medias and my email and all that good junk. So you are free to follow me there, but I am also just Nova Gnome Creations over on Gmail. Well, I am also over on Gmail, Nova Gnome Creations, but I meant to say Instagram. And also, speaking of Gmail, this Saturday is Gnome of the Month, so don't forget to email me pictures of your gnomes. This Saturday is going to be our gnomey montage, so let me know what gnomes you guys have made this month. Send me pictures, let me know what name to use, and I will be putting all of that together on Saturday for our beautiful gnome parade. Super stoked. I want to see your gnomes. Please don't forget to send your gnomes in. I can't wait to see what you guys have been up to this month. I know a lot of you guys have been working on gnomes, so I would love to see them, and I know that the community is super excited to see them as well. And also, apart from that, don't forget that Friday is Community Spotlight. Every Friday is always Community Spotlight. So you are always welcome to email me anything for Community Spotlight. Any of your makes. It doesn't have to be gnomes. It doesn't have to be amigurumi. Whatever you're working on that you would like to share. And just put in the subject line Community Spotlight or Gnome of the Month, and then it will be easy for me to search them out. If you don't put that as the subject line, there is a chance I will miss that email when I go through to put together my montage, because I usually just search Community Spotlight or Gnome of the Month. I do try to also go through and pick some out, because sometimes they don't get titled. The subject line isn't what they need to be for me to search them like that. But I don't want to miss your stuff, so just make sure that you put Community Spotlight or Gnome of the Month in your subject line, just to really make sure that it ends up in there. Anyway, guys, I hope you are having a lovely Wednesday. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you and your families are taking care the best that you can. And if you are not done with me and you would like to hang out in the cozy little corner of YouTube a little bit longer, don't forget you can always go into my description box. I've got some playlists linked in there. Or you can go over to my page, and I have a lot of playlists over on my page, and of course you can just binge at random until your heart's content. I am so glad that you are here. I am so glad that you are you. I want you to know that you are worthy of love. You are worthy of taking time for yourself, and I hope that you always remember that. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, friends!